Right now, somewhere on a dead, airless moon, there could be a machine sitting in the dark, not built by humans, not from this solar system. A machine that arrived millions of years ago, quietly built copies of itself, and then waited. Scientists are not laughing this idea off. They are taking it seriously, because the math says this might actually be the smartest way for any advanced alien civilization to explore an entire galaxy without ever sending a single living being. And if that machine is real, it might already know we exist. Stick with me, because this idea changes the entire way scientists think about the silence in space. Let's start with a problem. If you were an advanced alien civilization, thousands or even millions of years ahead of humanity, and you wanted to explore an entire galaxy, you would run into a brutal obstacle almost immediately: distance. Our galaxy alone contains somewhere between 200 and 400 billion stars. Sending actual living explorers to even a tiny fraction of them would take an unbelievable amount of time, fuel, food, and resources. A crewed mission to even the nearest star would take generations. So how could any civilization realistically explore a galaxy that massive without bankrupting itself or waiting millions of years for biological travelers to arrive? The answer scientists keep coming back to is simple. You don't send people, you send machines. And not just any machines, machines that can build more of themselves. In 1948, a brilliant mathematician named John von Neumann introduced an idea that would later become one of the most important concepts in the search for alien life. He called it the universal constructor. The basic idea was almost unbelievably simple. Imagine a machine that, when it lands somewhere with raw materials, like metal ores on an asteroid or a barren moon, can use those materials to build an exact copy of itself, not just any copy. A fully functional one, capable of doing the exact same thing all over again. Now imagine that process repeating. One machine becomes two becomes four becomes 16. And within a relatively short amount of cosmic time, you don't have one explorer anymore. You have millions of them, spreading outward in every direction like a wave. This is what scientists now call a von Neumann probe. And the implications of this idea are staggering. Mathematician Frank Tipler ran the numbers and came to a startling conclusion. If these probes could travel at just 10% of the speed of light, an entire galaxy, every single star system in it, could be explored in around 200 million years. That sounds like an enormous amount of time. But compare it to the age of our galaxy, which is roughly 13 billion years old. 200 million years is less than 5% of that. In cosmic terms, that is not slow, that is almost instant. Which means if even one civilization anywhere, at any point in the history of our galaxy, built machines like this, the entire galaxy should have been explored, mapped, and visited by now. Every star, every planet, including ours. So here's the question that should be sitting in your chest right now. If this is mathematically the smartest, cheapest, fastest way to explore a galaxy, and if even one civilization had millions of years more time than us to figure it out, why haven't we found any of these machines? Why is there no probe sitting quietly on our moon, or drifting past Mars, or hiding in the asteroid belt? This single uncomfortable gap in the evidence has become one of the most debated puzzles in modern astrophysics. Some scientists have an answer, and it is not comforting. They suggest these probes may already be here. Physicist Paul Davies, from the University of Adelaide, has openly raised the possibility that a von Neumann probe could be sitting on our own moon right now, left behind from a visit that happened ages before humans ever existed. Think about why the moon makes sense as a hiding place. It has no atmosphere, no weather, no erosion. Anything placed there could remain completely undisturbed, untouched, and unchanged for millions of years. A machine could simply power down and wait, watching, listening, for exactly the moment a species becomes advanced enough to notice it. And this is not some fringe idea being whispered about on internet forums. Just recently, a professor at Carleton University named Alex Ellery published new research exploring this exact possibility, that self-replicating probes may already be operating inside our own solar system right now. His research goes a step further, suggesting that if these machines are real, their activity, mining resources, building copies, transmitting data, would leave behind detectable traces. Scientists call these traces technosignatures, which means we may not be looking for a spaceship landing in a field somewhere. We may be looking for subtle, unusual signs of resource use, energy patterns, or strange material signatures hidden in places we have never properly searched. But here is where this theory takes a darker, more unsettling turn. Not every scientist believes these machines would be peaceful, quiet observers. Some believe they could be something far more dangerous. It's called the Berserker Hypothesis. The theory suggests that maybe one ancient civilization, at some point in galactic history, built self-replicating probes not to observe, but to eliminate, programmed to detect any rising biological civilization, and quietly destroy it before it becomes a threat. Under this version of events, the reason we don't see widespread alien activity across the galaxy isn't because nobody built these machines. It's because something already swept through, eliminating anyone who got too advanced, too visible, too loud. And if that's true, the silence in space isn't peaceful. It's a warning sign. Even scientists who reject the darker version admit there is a serious risk buried inside this technology, one that any truly advanced civilization would have to think about very carefully before ever building it. Carl Sagan and physicist William Newman warned that if a self-replicating probe were allowed to multiply without any limits, the math becomes terrifying almost instantly. A single uncontrolled probe could theoretically convert the entire mass of the galaxy into copies of itself in as little as 2 million years, which means any civilization smart enough to build these machines would also have to be smart enough to control them, to program strict limits, like restricting how many probes are allowed to exist within a certain region of space to prevent their own creation from spiraling out of control and consuming everything around it. So if these limits exist, if a truly intelligent species would never release something so dangerous without restrictions, then maybe that explains why we haven't found obvious evidence yet. Not because the probes don't exist, but because whoever built them was careful, deliberate, and disciplined enough to keep them quiet, limited, and almost impossible to detect by a species as young and inexperienced as us. Not every scientist agrees this technology is even realistic. Researcher Robert Freitas has pushed back, arguing that the level of capability described in most of these theories is probably exaggerated, and that more modest, limited versions of self-replicating machines likely wouldn't be powerful enough to leave any noticeable mark on an entire solar system, let alone a galaxy. And there's another major obstacle standing in the way of this entire idea ever happening in the first place. Civilizations might simply destroy themselves before they ever reach the technological level required to build something like this. Nuclear conflict, uncontrolled artificial intelligence, resource collapse, or global disaster could all wipe out a species long before it gets anywhere close to constructing a self-replicating interstellar probe. Scientists refer to this dangerous bottleneck as the Great Filter, a stage so difficult to survive that it might explain why intelligent life is far rarer and far quieter than the math alone would suggest. And then there's the timing of all of this, because this conversation isn't just theoretical anymore. In 2025, an interstellar object designated 3I Atlas passed through our solar system, and almost immediately, speculation exploded online, and even among some scientists, asking a question that sounds almost too strange to take seriously. What if it wasn't just a rock? What if it was something else entirely? Something built, something sent? The object was eventually explained through more conventional scientific analysis, but the fact that this question was even seriously raised shows just how close this idea has crept into mainstream science, no longer something confined to theory papers, but something scientists are actively watching for in real time, right now. So think about everything you just heard. The math says self-replicating machines are the most efficient way to explore a galaxy. The timeline says a civilization with even a small head start should have already done it. And multiple respected scientists have openly suggested these machines could already be sitting somewhere close to us, on our moon, in our asteroid belt, quietly waiting. So ask yourself this: if one of these machines is already here, silently watching, recording, learning everything about us, would we even know? Or are we exactly like every other young civilization before us, completely unaware that the test has already begun? So think about everything you just heard. The math says self-replicating machines are the most efficient way to explore a galaxy. The timeline says a civilization with even a small head start should have already done it. And multiple respected scientists have openly suggested these machines could already be sitting somewhere close to us, on our moon, in our asteroid belt, quietly waiting. So ask yourself this: if one of these machines is already here, silently watching, recording, learning everything about us, would we even know? Or are we exactly like every other young civilization before us, completely unaware that the test has already begun,